Your electric bill hit somewhere between $220 and $340 last July. You did not imagine that. It was real. And if this summer follows the pattern, and it is going to happen again, you have probably already done what most people do. You turned the thermostat up 2 degrees. You bought a box fan from the hardware store. Maybe you had someone come out to check the unit, $89 just to show up, before they touched a single thing. And the bill came anyway. Here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. Your home is losing cool air right now. Today, through gaps so small, you cannot feel them with your hand. Not the big obvious places. The ones nobody tells you to check. The ones that once sealed can pull $15 to $18 off your monthly bill without you touching your thermostat, your unit, or anything that requires a contractor. What fixes this costs $4 at any hardware store that has been open since 1970. My grandfather's house in Lancaster County stayed cooler than houses with central air. In July, without a single electric appliance. Stay with me. I am going to show you exactly why. My name is Samuel Byler. I grew up Amish in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. My family's farmhouse had no air conditioning, no ceiling fans, no electric anything, and in 34 summers growing up, I never once saw my mother sweat through dinner. I want to show you what I know. By the end of this, you will know exactly where your home is bleeding cool air, and it is not where you think. You will know the $4 fix my people have used for 200 years, step by step, so you can do it this weekend without calling anyone. And I am going to tell you something that should make you uncomfortable, which is that the weatherization and vac industry has had no reason, none, to tell you any of this. A $4 fix does not require a service call, and a service call is where they make their money. Stay with me. Here is what the average HVAC contractor charges for a summer efficiency tune-up. $150 to $350 depending on your market. What does that include? They check refrigerant levels. They clean the coils. They look at your filter. And they leave you a checklist of things they recommend. What is almost never on that checklist? The $4 fix I am about to show you. Not because it does not work. Because it works too well for too little money. The weatherization industry, the spray foam people, the insulation people, the window seal people, they generated $47 billion in revenue last year in the United States alone. That number does not come from homeowners fixing drafts with a $4 rope caulk from the hardware store. That number comes from service calls, from professional installations, from upgraded windows that cost $800 a panel. What is in that box is the thing they skip over. Every time. On purpose? No, I will not say that. But there is a quiet agreement in any industry to let the cheap solution stay quiet while the expensive one gets marketed. Here is the math. A single poorly sealed window can account for up to 25% of your home's cooling loss on a hot day, according to the U.S. Department of Energy. Not my number, their number. If your July bill was $280, that is $70 walking out through a gap you cannot see. Fix 4 windows and a door frame for $4 in materials, and that $70 starts staying inside. Over a full summer, June, July, August, that is $180 to $210 back in your pocket. You were just never told. You are being told now. The product is called rope caulk, sometimes labeled weather strip rope or window seal rope. It has been manufactured in roughly the same form since the 1940s. It is a soft, pliable compound part putty, part fiber that you press into gaps by hand. No gun, no nozzle, no skill required. My grandfather called it window mud. His father used a version made from linseed oil and sawdust that behaved the same way. I was 8 years old the first time my father put me to work with it. Late August. A Tuesday. We were sealing the north windows before the cold came in. He handed me a strip and said, "Samuel, you push it in until it stops moving." That was the whole instruction. I did not understand it then. I understand it very well now. Here is what actually happens inside your home when a window frame has even a 1/16-inch gap around its perimeter. Hot outside air enters at pressure. Your air conditioner is actively working to maintain 72 degrees. Every time warm air enters through a gap, the thermostat detects the rise and signals the compressor to run longer. The compressor pulls between 1,200 and 2,400 watts per hour. A gap you can barely see is enough to add 20 to 40 minutes of compressor runtime per day on a 95-degree afternoon. That is not an estimate. Researchers at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, a Department of Energy facility, documented in a 2019 study that air infiltration through window and door gaps accounts for 25 to 40% of a home's total heating and cooling load. Their words, their study. My people never paid an energy bill in 200 years. Not because they lived in the cold, because they understood that a house is a sealed container, and a container with holes does not hold. The rope caulk works because it is compressible and slightly adhesive. When you press it into the gap between a window sash and the frame, it conforms to every irregularity in that surface. It does not harden. It does not crack in winter, and in the spring you peel it away in one strip, no damage, no residue, ready for the next season. My father's windows lasted 40 years without a single replacement. Not because they were special windows, because they were maintained a little. Every year, before the season asked for it. Here is what I want you to do. You will need 3 things. Here is where to get them and what they cost. First, 1 roll of rope caulk, also called window seal rope or draft snake rope. Find it at any hardware store, any Walmart, any home center. It will be in the weather stripping aisle, lower shelf, usually a yellow or gray box. It costs between $3 and $6 for a 35-foot roll. 1 roll will do every window in a standard 2-bedroom house and have some left over. Second, a butter knife or an old putty knife. You already have this. Third, a damp rag, also already in your home. That is everything. Total cost, $4. Step 1, find your gaps. Close every window in the room you are working in. Take a single sheet of paper and slide it into the seam between the lower sash, that is the bottom piece of the window that slides up, and the window frame. If the paper slides in without resistance, you have a gap. If it catches, that seam is probably fine. Do this on all 4 sides of the window. Bottom, top, and both sides. Most folks stop at the bottom seam. That is the most common mistake. The top seam and the side tracks are where the real heat enters because warm air rises. And a gap at the top of the window is an open invitation. Mark the gaps with a small piece of tape so you know where you are working. Step 2, clean the surface. Take your damp rag and wipe the area where you will press the rope caulk. Dust and grime will prevent it from adhering. You are not deep cleaning, you are just removing the loose surface layer. This takes 10 seconds per window. Do not skip it. This is the step most people skip. It is also the reason most people have rope caulk that falls out after 2 weeks. Step 3. Measure and press. Pull a length of rope caulk off the roll. Press it in along the gap with your thumb, steady pressure, moving from one end to the other in one continuous motion. You are not forcing it. You are guiding it in. If the gap is narrow, press the rope down first. Then use the back of the butter knife to seat it flush with the surface. Not bulging out, not recessed deep. Flush, do the full perimeter of the window bottom rail, top rail, both side tracks. 1 continuous piece per seam, not short segments. Some people cut it into small pieces because it looks tidier. It does not matter what it looks like. What matters is that there are no gaps between segments for air to pass through. 1 piece, start to finish. Step 4, test your work. Close the window fully. Run the paper test again. If the paper now catches, you have done it correctly. On a windy day, hold the back of your hand near the sealed seam. You should feel nothing. No movement. No coolness. Nothing. Do this on every window that faces west or south. Those are your heat gain sides in the summer months. A north-facing window in most climates gains far less solar heat. Start with the west and south windows, and you will have addressed 70% of your summer infiltration problem. For doors, the same method applies along the sides of the door frame where the door meets the stop molding. The bottom of the door is a different fix-a-door sweep, but the sides respond very well to rope caulk. That is the whole of it. Now, I have to be honest with you about what this method does not fix, because this is exactly where I see folks get misled, and I will not do that to you. Rope caulk is a seasonal, surface-level fix. It addresses gaps at window sashes and door frames. It does not address your attic insulation. If your attic has inadequate insulation and if your home was built before 1980, it almost certainly does that as a separate problem that rope caulk will not touch. The Department of Energy recommends R38 to R60 of insulation in an attic. Most older homes have R11 or less. That gap is costing you far more than your windows. It also does not address leaking ductwork. If your forced air system has ducts running through an unconditioned attic or crawl space, and those ducts have gaps at their joints, you are cooling the attic and calling it air conditioning. That is a real problem. It requires a real fix. What rope caulk will do is stop the infiltration at the window and door perimeters, which the Department of Energy identifies as a primary entry point, and do it for $4 this weekend, with no tools and no training. A $4 fix that saves $180 over a summer is worth doing even if it is not the only fix available. Honest is better than impressive. Let me be honest with you about something. You did not forget how to maintain your home. You were not taught. That is a different thing. Somewhere between 1950 and today, a very quiet shift happened in this country. The knowledge of how to manage a house, how to seal it, heat it, cool it, maintain it moved out of the homeowner's hands and into the contractor's appointment book, one trade at a time, one call a professional at a time, until most people today genuinely believe that anything more involved than changing a light bulb requires a license, a truck, and a $200 minimum visit. My community did not believe that. We built our own barns. We fixed our own wells. We sealed our own windows in the fall and unsealed them in the spring, and in 200 years we did not pay $1 to a weatherization company. The knowledge of how to do it was passed down the same way recipes are passed down. Person to person, hand to hand. You did not lose this knowledge. It was replaced. Slowly, one industry at a time, one sales pitch at a time, until you arrived at the place most people are, where a $4 fix sits on the shelf at the hardware store and no one told you to pick it up. I am not asking you to live the way I lived. I understand you have a different life. I am asking you to do one thing this weekend. One window, one roll, 1 hour. Because once you do it, and you see the paper test fail, and you feel that the air has stopped moving, something changes. You remember that the house is yours, and the knowledge is yours too. You just had to be reminded. This weekend, here is what I want you to do. 1. Go to any hardware store and pick up 1 roll of rope caulk. It will cost you $3 to $6. 2. Close every window in your house and run the paper test on the south and west facing windows first. 3. Mark your gaps. Wipe the surface. Press the rope caulk in from one end to the other, one continuous piece per scene. 4. Run the paper test again. Feel the difference. Total time, under an hour. Total cost, $4. Total summer savings if you do every window, $150 to $200. That is the whole of it. Tell me in the comments, what did your electric bill run last July? The actual number. I read every single one, and I want to know what this problem is actually costing people. Because the number I hear from most folks surprises even me. Before I go for the folks who want all 30 of these methods in one place, I have put together a manual at the link below. It is called the Byler Home Manual. 70 pages, $27. Yours permanently. Every method I have shown on this channel, and the ones I have not gotten to yet, walk through step by step. I will not mention it again in this video. If you want it, it is there. If you do not, everything I have shown you today is free. Next time, I am going to show you the $6 trick my father used every November to cut our heating bill in half. It involves the windows again, but the method is completely different, and it works through physics that took me years to fully understand. Nobody will explain this to you the way I am going to explain it. I will see you there. Until then, seal tight, sleep cool, and remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.